Julian Assange, a man whose name has honored everywhere in the world, but especially today, especially due to a prize that he won once. WikiLeaks has presented more unclassified documents more than any press or any media. This means the alarming rate of the state of the media. And we asked, how could a team of 5 people can bring this repressed information to the public than the rest of the media together? This is shameful, and this is the end of the quote. One of the most pursued people in the planet. His publications confirmed the date specifically of the acts of the United States since 2006. He has filtrated secret documents directly linked to the government, the U.S. government, with the violation of human rights, war crimes, espionage, and macabre actions, among others. And Assange, a geopolitical piece on the board. We will look at the news and all the players involved, and you will be our companion.
Un punto de quiebre. Este jueves
It is a breaking point. Today, April 11, military UK police, Scotland Yard, has arrested Julian Assange, creator of WikiLeaks in 2006. This is because after the Lenin Moreno government and just before ended or terminated the diplomatic asylum that protected Assange, and who was also an IT expert in Ecuadorian territory in UK. And right now his physical integrity is in danger, and understanding that U.S. justice wants extradition to judge over his informations, and right now we want to share with you the argumentation from the Ecuadorian government that was sharing very early in a press conference, because there were no questions asked from the media, but an intervention and a conference from the Chancellor, an intromission from Assange and to their allied institution for several years has lived in Ecuador, one of the key members in this organization, WikiLeaks, and close people to Julian Assange. Finally, the last lead we had at the end of February in 2019, when they traveled with a difference from one day to Venezuela. This data, aside from the identity and the location of 2 Russian hackers, which are also living in Ecuador, they will be turned over in the next hours to the Chancellery of the state. We won't allow that Ecuador is a data center for hacking. We had several suspicions, but some with the links to Venezuela and Russian hackers living in Ecuador, we can verify it in the last few weeks. This is, we need to go into detail who we're talking about. And this is a long legal battle that they have in his defense. He has said several of the accusations do not have fundaments, they have foundations, and we have seen with WikiLeaks. And I am coming to this side of the studio because this is our guest, Mauricio Morro, and we will go first to the piece, and then we will continue with him. Welcome.
Julian Paul Assange, born in Townsville, Queensland, in Australia. He is a journalist, he is a programmer, nationalized Ecuadorian in 2017. 2016, he funded the WikiLeaks Center and published confidential information that shows corruption, actions against innocent people, and dark political maneuvers, and to justify war. Especially this betrayal, this information that points to the United States was well known to the world. For example, he showed pictures of the horror of U.S. soldiers shooting from helicopters to people and causing the death of 18 people in 2010. The
WikiLeaks was even more popular because of the classified information regarding army and the made-up wars for Afghanistan. And in Sweden, they also wanted to have arrest Assange for sexual assault, and this is without fundament because these were consensuous consensual intercourse, and just at that moment it's very worrisome. In 2010, Assange turns himself over and he stays in the embassy. In 2017, Sweden takes away the accusation against him. In 2017, he asked for political asylum. In November, under the President Rafael Correa granted him political asylum, and after when Lenin Moreno was named president in 2017, the conditions for Assange changed in such a manner that in 2018, 8 months without communications and no readings and no visits, and without being able to see the sun, pressure as a way to pressure from governments, the UK and the United States. He wanted to be extradited to the United States, and specifically this woman was liberated for over this who was taken to prison in 2010. Assange has received many prizes. In 2008, he won the Economist Prize and the Amnesty International in the UK to show extrajudicial assassinations and other crimes. And these are the knowledge and the considerations and the opinions from our guest. And this is Mari Chamorro, and he is a magister in political communication and strategic communication strategist. We're very sorrowful for what is happening, but we have to face it. So welcome. So this is a pleasure for us. I want to ask you if this is a coincidence. Do you agree with us that this is an important geopolitical hit? Yes. This is a confrontation between the United States of ideological confrontations between left and right, between conservatives and liberals, and also the way the world works, especially in communication and information. Julian Assange is a man that is the leader of an important information web, and he wants to show the world what is really happening truly geopolitically. And he lays bare the empire, the U.S. empire, and showing all the crimes that they have committed and their actions in destabilizing governments in Latin America and the world. And this is, of course, this has made him a prisoner in the UK and one step away from being extradited because this is the petition to judge him and maybe even death penalty. And do you think this could happen, extradition? Yes, absolutely. Because there's no legality, really. This is a geopolitical game. We have to understand that the frameworks, the way the UN, the way the world works, the liar, human rights, this is under the military and economical forces of the U.S. empire. So survival of society within that framework is the fight between economical powers of the world. This will be subjugated to whatever is needed. In Julian Assange's case, it's evident that at this moment we see that geopolitically that it is very interesting is the fact that Julian Assange is being condemned, is being judged for leaking information, and they want to call him a spy. And this is a spy working with Russians, along with the Ecuadorian government to justify it. So this is admitting that what Julian Assange has published. So yes, it's true. It's saying that he's a spy, not a journalist, so he can be condemned for leaking confidential information and exposing the United States. This is not true. So this information is that he only made it public. This is the same with the Ecuadorian government in relation to the corruptions for Lenin Moreno, which is filtered through other web portals and other platforms and Facebook and Twitter. And WikiLeaks takes that information because they are always have always been very explicit in which is promoting the truth, and they have promoted it. They did not make it public, but Lenin's government is using that to justify it and saying that Julian Assange hacked accounts and is using this to destabilize the government, maybe an area of the country. Maybe why do the links to Lenin Moreno's government, or this is really, there's a reorientation in the external policy in Ecuador's government, which means a realignment with the United States benefits. We have to understand that Lenin Moreno is a traitor for the citizens' revolution. He's infiltrated, and all his previous relations with the embassy, which were secret, when they were made public, showing that Lenin Moreno had a very specific government goals and objectives. He had a very low profile in the government. When he wins the elections, and when he wins the elections, he has a neoliberal agenda contrary to the citizens' revolution and what he had signed to defend. But his geopolitical functions in Latin America, his functions is to destroy the possibility of an integrated Latin American integration. He is key in that role because UNASUR is the seat in Ecuador. Second of all, Ecuador is a founding member of UNASUR. We're also, in another way, we were also important in CELAC. Economically and militarily, we can. Doesn't have weight in the region. It's a small country with a small economy. It's not like with Chile or Brazil or Venezuela. So we're talking about his play was to present himself as a man from the left and destroy it from the inside, and to legitimate that international intervention to face the big economical blockades. Because, for instance, Alca, with Kirchner and Chavez and Lula, they stopped the intentions to Bush of having this open market. And Ecuador was a very important player. And now having a president that apparently was coming from the left, and he was not a conservative player. So that is a confusing role because he's a candidate from the citizens' revolution. So what he's trying to do is to link to defend and protect himself, because he's seriously linked to a corruption case, which is all the proofs are there. His family and they handled money from companies which paid for acquiring contracts in Ecuador when he was the vice president. So his brother got the money and he enjoyed from that money. So what he's saying now is that Julian Assange filtered and leaked that information. He's trying to destabilize the country, and he includes Venezuela and the Ministry of Internal Relations are talking about two Russian hackers and links from Venezuela. What are the consequences? So it's saying that yes, it's reestablishing the story from the United States, saying Venezuela is destabilizing the region, but there's something important. One thing is to accuse Venezuela falsely of having there's a dictatorship in Venezuela, which is the world's right, and the United States is saying, and they has to be taken down. And it's not only a dictatorship, but they're also influencing in my country. Venezuela is influencing in Ecuador, and that is very serious, because that is not self-determination from the Venezuelan people, which has to. No, we're talking now that the Venezuelan government is influencing politics in Ecuador. So this means that it could aggravate the situation from that story accusing Venezuela. So they want to take advantage of of who's running this operation. So the citizens' revolution to have Patiño there. Julian Assange had Russian hackers. So do you see? It's a Hollywood plot now. And so yes, of course, Patiño is one of the great leaders of the revolution, and totally recognized internationally, which is given asylum to. He was the one who gave asylum to Assange. So we have to understand what is really happening in these processes, because this objective will not be achieved at the end. So what about Russiagate and its links with WikiLeaks? And yes, so right now they're coming to say publicly, saying that the United States had nothing to do with the Mexican elections, because there was these accusations and allegations saying that Russia was supporting Andrés Manuel Obrador and having their hackers there, and also they also influenced with Trump's election, and now Putin was the strategic ally for Trump, and he helped Trump win the elections against Hillary. Because Hillary won the elections, but of course the democratic systems in the U.S. is very bizarre that they won somebody, the superdelegates. Right now, the situation points towards that, to have a strategy, international strategy. So Venezuela, which is resisting and has the support of Russia and China and Turkey, Iran, and great economies worldwide. We're talking about countries that are leaders and world powers. We have the most important economical power in the world, China, and the one that could stop could stop the United States in their tracks. And we have Russia, we have, geographically speaking, we have Turkey connecting East and West, and of course Iran also with, these are important countries and in the Middle East. So we have the axis of evil, but which is also running in Latin America too. It's much more simple than that. Lenin Moreno is corrupt. His family is corrupt. The corruption was made public, and Chancellery, Panama, and Spain, and even Ecuador, which is absolutely controlled by the government. At the moment, they're investigating because the evidences are there. There's money coming to and fro. He bought an apartment. So this is important to say. It's important that Ecuador says Julian Assange. Why did they make it up? So Moreno is a victim from Julian Assange leaks. So that is absurd, but that is what is happening. Another point that you want to bring to attention is the UK, whose government has to do with having to deal with Brexit, not only with and internally, and also Brussels and with the European Union and all of them. So do you think this could be a smoke and mirrors game to have that Theresa May, do you think Theresa May did not fall for it? It did not fall because the Labour Party did not allow it. Because they helped her, they do not take her out. Theresa May has two main problems. One is migration from the big financial groups that are leaving right now in the UK, which are moving to Germany and other countries which are still in the EU. And of course, military and safety with North Ireland. In the Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK, and their borders with the Irish, there's no physical border, and if there's how will I do with customs? So will I have military in the borders? Will I build a wall? And this. So let us remember all the conflict from all of this. The IRA conflict is very delicate, and all the conservatives don't have answers. But I don't believe because all the information was given by Julian, and said this is an important thing to point out, that they did not have, England does not have legal backing for doing what they did to Julian Assange. He's technically seeking asylum, and he's also Ecuadorian. And the Ecuadorian, so Julian Assange is Ecuadorian, and has been given asylum in Ecuador's embassy, and was kidnapped by the security forces. And of course, Ecuador is not a country that has a geopolitical weight, so they wouldn't have done that with Russia or China. But so we do know what this means. So England, at a certain point, they will take advantage of the situation to give a distraction, especially with the Brexit issue, and also the UK will lose a lot with. There's no deal yet. Theresa May has sat down with Merkel and Macron and asking for water, asking for help to give them more time to leave Brexit. So this is not a good situation for the UK or European Union. So this is a distraction, yes, but this is not the real reason why Julian Assange was taken out of the embassy. So they took advantage of that situation, but it is not really true. So we have to continue right now very closely what will happen, what is happening right now in the map. Thank you very much for your presence here and for sharing your information. So I will go now to the other side of the studio because there are some digital webs that we want to highlight articles.
Justo desde acá, desde nuestra mesa digital,
on the digital table, we will look at vanguardias from Spain, and saying just where the news were hitting the web, the media. Russia accuses the British authorities of strangling Assange freedom. And beneath this, in the article, after the photograph, with this photograph, we see that in Facebook, the manager from the information department in the UK, or the Spain, was the hand of democracy strangles the freedom. The spokesperson from Kremlin was said that they want to answering a question that some journalist was saying that maybe Russia would grant Assange some political asylum to Assange. He only answered that let us hope that they respect all the rights. So that phrase is also important. This has to do with the players. The Russian Federation, one of the main ones, and among others, or among other consequences geopolitically, this could bring the confrontation, or harder confrontation, or one more reason to have confrontation between governments from opposite ideologies and that are important, have important resources. Now we'll go now to the medios from Spain, and on today they said the detention for Julian Assange is an attempt against freedom. This article picks up the opinion from several people. For example, Snowden said that the ambassador that opens the door to the policemen in the UK will go down in the history books. This is what Snowden said. So this is CIA from the CIA that had secret information that he also leaked out. From Spain, the General Secretary wrote, if the power is always afraid of truth, the exploitation and injustice from the powerful ones are only powerful because they base themselves on lie. And I remember a phrase saying, if war can start from a lie, it can start from the truth. And President from Kim Torra from Generalitat saying total solidarity for Assange, and also respect for the freedom of expression, and said that these freedoms have to be the pillars from the European Union, which is what we talked about with Mauri. and with the community projects and the rights and where's the legal public right, and saying, and also the Assange supported Catalans in 2017, and also 1st October was a referendum which was so repressed in Catalonia, and of course the more opinions keep coming. And also in Latin America, we had the tweet from ex-officials from Ecuador. We had Yum Long from some tweeters and ex-president Rafael Correa, among others. We will continue, and also Evo Morales from Bolivia. We will go now to a break, and let us ask ourselves, does this make more chaotic even more the international law and rights and the polarization, ideological polarization so far? We will analyze this further after the break.
Telesur Documentaries presents a journey through the manuscripts of Gabriel García Márquez. The Magic File.
Un archivo solo existe en la medida en que es un constante diálogo con quien viene a ver el archivo. El archivo, si no es un archivo muerto, el archivo no es una cosa muerta, el archivo es una cosa viva.
Premiere Sunday. Only on Telesur.
The arbitrary arrest for Assange. We have this geopolitical move today. We will visit now the portal, the analysis portal called Misión Verdad, and if you probably know this, and this is we opened this article, arrest Julian Assange after Lenin Moreno took away diplomatic asylum, and we see at the end of the article, and we see this paragraph, especially the demonstration in how Hillary Clinton, when she was the Secretary of State in the United States, knew about the financing of the ISIS states and through Qatar and Saudi Arabia, among other filtrations and external operations in the United States, was a big hit against the Clinton's machinery and all the establishments, security establishment, and international policy. What we were talking about are the consequences or the key or the geopolitical keys that this article brings forth for Assange's arrest. With this, after we have cited this paragraph, we want to update, and we do this connecting to Quito, capital of Ecuador. Our correspondent Denise Herrera, we asked for more elements. Hello, Denise.
Hola Lucía, qué gusto saludarte de igual manera.
Hello.
Ahora acaba
Right
de
now,
terminar
we have the press conference is over from the ex-chancellor Ricardo Patiño, who justified and clarified the claims that María Paula Romo made, that Ricardo Patiño had something to do with the Russian hackers living here in Ecuador. Especially, he said that he made a decision legal decision that he recognizes Assange's efforts to reveal geopolitical information and international conflicts, and he rejects totally Lenin Moreno's decision to take away political asylum and all he calls the citizens and all the people that they support Assange's freedom and for a protest and a march here in Ecuador. This press conference is still going on, and the journalists are making questions, and we will give you more information in the next few moments. Very important to ask, what are these polemical revelations coming from WikiLeaks in 2006? 2007, WikiLeaks publishes the manual for the soldiers that take over the prisoners in Guantanamo Bay and legally occupied territory. In 2009, WikiLeaks publishes 400 instant messages after the terrorist attacks in 2001. In 2010, media publishes more than 90,000 documents related to the Afghanistan war. But they had more filtration regarding after 2010. 3,000 documents have to do with acts against prisoners in Iraq. 2010, 250,000 documents after in his web after where the United States gives diplomats gives specific instructions to diplomats, and afterwards they talk about Guantanamo Bay. August 2011, the web publishes 230,000 messages from the army, and afterwards millions of mails were leaked. WikiLeaks gives documents from mails between the United States, Japan, Germany, and other countries. John Brennan, 2017, the agency NSA was the first, and Netanyahu and Berlusconi and the UN General Secretary get together, and otherwise all the emails published by Forum leaks Hillary Clinton's emails, and afterwards in Frankfurt as a center, and many companies, European products in the company. I will talk now to their next guest, ex-president of Ecuador, Rafael Correa. Welcome, ex-president. You were saying in Twitter this humiliating news for Ecuador, a betrayal from Lenin Moreno. Can you please give us your opinion regarding this? Then they have consented finally to Julian Assange arrest. So this is an unexpected decision, but very impactful and surprising the way it was, brutal way it was done, and also. And I say hi to the Bolivar's people, to Venezuela. Julian Assange, I saw him many months ago. He was condemned. Lenin Moreno and I asked forgiveness Latin America and the world for having supported this person who betrayed us after the first from the first week. From his first week, he was already got together with people from the Trump's government already in jail, and also he's saying that he would give over Julian Assange if the United States gave economical support. Afterwards, last year, he received Mike Pence, and they agreed three things: to isolate Venezuela, to give Chevron impunity, and to give over Julian Assange. They tried to give up. They tried to torture him psychologically without communication, etc. But Julian Assange, and afterwards they made this stupidity. You have some days ago, WikiLeaks publishes what was already known, but this corruption case, which is Moreno is involved, his family, we have the accounts, we have everything. And if you have any doubts, and you have, of course, royalty, you see the numbers of the accounts through a bank in Panama. INA is a company that he created in 2012 in Belize and the Caribbean country, and with Moreno's brother. We can see here all the money that they received illegally and the contract through contracts for the state and financed from apartments in the Mediterranean, transfers in cash, but because WikiLeaks leaked this in March, Moreno, filled with hate, said that, of course, Julian Assange was to be taken out. And, of course, spread out the rumors that they had lied so that they can do what they had to do. So this is the way that this happened. And of course, this is an attempt against asylum, attempt against the Constitution, because he's a citizen. Do you think he can take away the citizenship with only a decree? And he allows the police, the UK police, secret police, to the embassy. So that is. This goes against Ecuadorian sovereignty. That is a betrayal. He will have many judgments against, many legal cases against Ecuador and him, and they have given over Julian Assange. So my question is, this subjugation of the government to the U.S. benefits, and yes, of course, because they're just subjugated. They haven't even negotiated. An honorary person does not subjugate, but of course, he does it so willfully and enthusiastically. These are not opinions. These are the declarations and the testimonials from other people that participated in that meeting. And of course, we had an old this testimony that he received within this meeting. We have people that were also present in that meeting in May 2017. With Moreno was saying that Manafort tell Trump that I will give Assange if they will finance us. So that is that's total subjugation, totally lack of dignity. He has humiliated and given Julian Assange, he has humiliated Ecuador and has been a very, very harmful president, because another one that has given asylum to somebody else, and right now. So do you think there's danger that Venezuela's government is being linked, and of course to supposed Russian hackers in Ecuadorian territory, and they were acting with WikiLeaks? We want to hear your geopolitical opinion that the minister was announcing. So this is a world championship of lies, and Lenin Moreno's government wins. They can say whatever they want, but they have to prove it. So this is a way to justify their betrayal, and of course this is the capacity that they have in front of the cameras. And he had the Ecuadorian systems, and so you have to give proof, and of course this betrayal, to justify his betrayal, his lack of commitment with the institution, the asylum institution, that Assange's right, and as a citizen of the Ecuadorian citizen, And right now they're saying they had hackers. So okay, what if there were two hackers? This is a distraction, smokes and mirrors, and let us. But we need proof for this. So we will have a. And so, of course, this was the way Patiño spied on Moreno. And this has to do with betraying, the way they have betrayed Julian Assange. This make more fragile, more chaotic the international order. And my question is, where is a public law with this? What about the international rights and agreements that they're made, and the United States that just breaks these agreements? This breaks everything. Destroys the dignity of Ecuador, destroys the trust in the governments of Latin America, destroys international rights, it destroys that asylum institution respected since the Middle Ages, and of course, Julian Assange is Ecuadorian, and this destroys all the requests from the United Nations, for example, saying then know that the arbitrary disposition of Julian Assange and the American Court for Human Rights, and from the human rights, it destroys all these commissions and agreements and articles. So what are we talking about? A just world order, but this is immoral and amoral world order. For Julian Assange it's right now being in the UK. It's been given, but because we have a crime of wars, because he presented crimes of war for the United States and everything else, and we see that he have a penalty, death penalty, because he had no chance of a fair trial, and it involved the death penalty. But this goes against human rights and any international treaties, and this breaks everything. But in spite of that, let us not lose hope in humanity. Let us be courageous to keep fighting for the rights. Let us to have a world order that is just, that is not for the biggest ones, for the biggest bullies. So this we want to talk about this is the political cost that they want Assange to pay for his leaks, and what he reveals, especially regarding the traditional policies from the United States and their way to interfere, espionage and crimes against humanity, and all of this. What do you think will happen now after all these events have taken place? Yes, I want to. The United States wants to make an example of Assange, and they want to teach everybody a lesson so as not to have any more whistleblowers. So I agree that a country has to have confidential information for national security, but another thing is to cover crimes against humanity. So that's what he did, is leak them. And also, how can we talk about moral? If we publish confidential information, so the media published them, New York Times did. So why aren't there any more legal actions against them? Because they're powerful, and they want to make this demonstration with the weakest part of the chain, which is the journalist that gave the information. Yes, it's a critical situation that shows us that we live in a world that justice does not govern, but the bully governs. So this is let's be optimistic, short term and mid term, and these are hard times for Latin America. We have these problems, so maybe not so serious like in 90s. There was no governments from the left in Latin America. But now we have Venezuela, we have Uruguay and Bolivia. And I am not going to, and if president, that if they're from the right, I'm not going to talk badly about him, but we do have some very mediocre people. And some want to just be cheerleaders from the United States and bow their head for the boss. And this will be, but our people will wake. What has been planted, we will see the results, we will see how things change, but we have to struggle, we have to fight, we have to get together, but we will be victorious. You talk about resistance and unity and have unions so that things change and that they don't have continuation in the future. Do you think maybe this is an attack, a way to hit morality against that movement, solidarity movement that they have, that was gathered around WikiLeaks and what he represents? That of course, as I said so, Assange will be made an example. For one instant, just imagine our audience, if he had given the information from Russia or China, because we're talking about secrets from the United States, then the UK is a partner from the US who will have, and they tried to breach the embassy from Ecuador. It was happening in Latin America, and for 7 years we did not let an asylum leave, but because they are more powerful, they do whatever they want, but because they want to make him an example, so and see what for letting people know about the crimes of war, about crimes against humanity, because if something happens in Venezuela and all the protests that we have, and I have a problem with the cop that is more violent than necessary. And we're talking about dictatorship. When we're talking about innocent people, and communication is. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you, and be strong, Venezuela, and a lot of affection. We say goodbye to the president, the leader of the citizens' revolution, and we will go now to conclusions after we have talked about the most important informations with our two guests. This event, which will be condemned internationally, and therefore will have their very specific consequences, which is the subjugation of the Ecuadorian government to the mandates and the interests of the United States. And of course, there's revelations given by Rafael Correa that Moreno had previously talked about things. Isolate Venezuela, leave in impunity Chevron, and give Assange over to the U.S., which is already what has happened. Once again, the United States uses their power to break international law and opens the door to new confrontations between ideological governments that from opposite sides, and this has to do with the natures of the players that are involved with this. Ecuador, UK, Venezuela in our region, in this geopolitical movement, and of course the Russian Federation, the United States government, among others. So this is the end of our critical moves, and we want and committing ourselves to give you the best leading the events, and until the next time.